Vegito, the fusion of Goku, the pure-hearted Saiyan raised on Earth, and Vegeta, the prince of all Saiyans. The fusion was done using the Potara Earrings during the Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z. Vegito was capable of embarrassing Majin Buu, the biggest threat up until that point in the series, to potentially having power that would rival even the god of destruction, Beerus, himself. This fusion would then go on to be a fan favorite and one of the most iconic characters in the entire series, being the fusion of one of the most iconic anime duos of all time and all. And Frieza, the ruler of a galactic empire that conquers and trades planets, and the literal catalyst for the events of the entire Dragon Ball series, destroying planet Vegeta and thus creating the series we all know and love. While Frieza is definitely the most reoccurring antagonist in the entire series, from fighting Goku on Namek, then becoming Mecha Frieza to get his revenge, then being revived by the Dragon Balls, obtains a new form and fights on par with Goku with many more years of training, to even fighting alongside him in a tournament to save the universe itself. Putting these two in a fight would definitely be very interesting, and today we'll be covering that topic. After the Tournament of Power, Frieza essentially becomes this wandering emperor, and after the events of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, and getting humiliated by Broly, feels completely helpless when face to face with Gogeta, and isn't seen for the rest of the series until the Granola arc. And when we see him, he becomes this huge menace. What he did was on par with some of the coldest things that ever happened in literally all of Dragon Ball. Keep in mind, Majin Buu murdered everyone on Earth, including most of the Z Fighters, then as Kid Buu went to the afterlife just to murder some more people because he hadn't had enough. Or Z Broly taking on all the Z Fighters while laughing like a maniac. What Frieza does tops all of this tenfold. Goku and Vegeta are fighting Gas, who is the strongest being in the entire universe, with a curse placed on himself that essentially makes it so every time someone stronger than himself appears in the universe, he will instantly overcome them. This curse is so intense that becoming stronger than his opponents will quite literally physically age him. The aging is literally just so he can compensate for the power-up itself, which essentially means that regardless of how strong either Goku or Vegeta gets, they will ultimately be weaker than Gas. Then Frieza completely stealing the spotlight lands as shown in the panel, with no introduction and out of nowhere. Pretty much just says, "Yo Gas, it's been a minute." Then Gas in pure rage charges at Frieza with the intent of killing him. Then Frieza transforms into this new form of his, one-shotting Gas, the same being that Goku and Vegeta were dumping their hearts and souls into trying to defeat just prior to his appearance. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the curse placed on Gas forces himself to become stronger than any opponent stronger than himself. So not only did Frieza one-shot Gas, but he pretty much just overwhelmed the curse to the point to where Gas turned into literal dust, because that's how strong Frieza is. Then proceeds to murder every villain present. Then one-shots Goku and Vegeta, who just spent 2 full arcs getting power amps. These power amps surpass literally any form you've seen in Dragon Ball from any character in the main cast. Then pretty much taunted them about how weak they were, and after revealing his new form known as Black Frieza, stating that he's gotten 10 years worth of training in a hyperbolic time chamber. 10 years! What does 10 years of training actually mean for Frieza? Well, remember, Frieza is the same guy who went from being weaker than Super Saiyan Goku on Namek to rivaling Super Saiyan Blue Goku with much more training in a time frame as small as just 4 months. That's literally multiple fusion level amps by Frieza, and when defeated, imagines killing Goku in the afterlife and gets stronger from it. Then potentially getting stronger in the 40 minutes that the Tournament of Power was occurring, then probably getting much stronger during his beatdown from Broly, which would have lasted longer than the Tournament of Power itself, seeing as though Goku and Vegeta needed to refuse twice. The question then is, how strong did Frieza actually get in those 10 years? While Frieza was on the scene, he stated that he was pretty much done losing to all Saiyans. This means any Saiyan Frieza has witnessed up until this point is now weaker than himself. Frieza would have trained for Goku, Vegeta, the Universe 6 Saiyans like Kaba, the fusion of Caulifla and Kale, Kefla, Broly, because he'd gotten beaten down by him just prior to this, and Gogeta, and maybe, just maybe, even Beerus. Frieza is an extremely egotistical character with a very high superiority complex. How strong would he have to be for him to let Goku and Vegeta live after revealing this power? This power has to be so far above anything he believes Goku and Vegeta could reach, because he simply allowed them to live to tell the tale. Because not only did he let Goku and Vegeta live knowing that they could get stronger, but he let them live knowing that they could fuse and potentially use Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego while fused. He would have to be so confident in his own capabilities to brush off the potential of a hypothetical Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego Gogeta. And also another thing that needs to be mentioned here is the fact that Frieza most likely isn't even training for the Saiyan specifically. There are actual implications within the Dragon Ball Super anime that sort of point out towards the fact that Frieza just wants to be the strongest there is with no one to combat him. This is actually supported in an interview with Nagamine, who is the director of Dragon Ball Super, in which he states Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza all have many highlight moments. Goku is already coming close to the level of the gods. Vegeta is furiously trying to catch up to him, and Frieza especially shows a lot of growth this time. He's always been haughty and held himself in high regard, but since Beerus, Whis, and the Omni King exist, he's trying to work out how he can reach the top. Perhaps he's plotting to seize his strength steadily while harboring the ambition to take down the Omni King someday, or maybe he won't be able to defy him. I'm not sure. Goku is the same as always, saying I want to get stronger, simple as that, in which breaking that statement down, he's essentially saying that Goku's goal has been the same since the series began. He wants to challenge opponents and become stronger, so much so that he's rivaling the gods. While Frieza's ambition is to become the strongest there is. You can imagine why Frieza's discovery of a being such as the Omni King strikes Frieza in a negative way. So hearing things like this makes the fact that he's training for opponents such as the Saiyans and Beerus not so unbelievable, considering he's aiming and targeting the only being in existence with the power to erase timelines out of existence, as if it were a pencil and an eraser. The strength Frieza obtained in those 10 years probably doesn't seem like such a crazy hypothesis when you look at things like this. And just for clarification, no, Goku and Vegeta were not weakened during their encounter with Frieza, at least not heavily. In fact, the reason they were so conveniently healed before Frieza showed up was probably just to show how strong Frieza truly is. Plus, he had literally one-shot gas right before this, who I stated earlier is stronger than both Goku and Vegeta. So one thing you might be wondering is, how does Vegito compare to Frieza? Someone who's trained for every Saiyan and potentially the gods themselves. Well, the answer to that question is actually pretty simple. Vegito is very strong. Very, very strong. A lot stronger than you think. In fact, in the super exciting guide, Vegito is said to be the multiplication of the two beings involved in the fusion, which essentially means A times B, or Goku's power level multiplied by Vegito's power level. In fact, Buhan in the Buu Saga was literally screaming away tears in the universe by just screaming. The universe he was tearing apart was stated infinite multiple times by many data books like Dai Senchu. So, Buhan, performing a feat as large as this, then concentrates said dimensional tear-tier attack and unleashes it on Vegito, to which Vegito simply takes it. This man Vegito far exceeds the power of someone like Majin Buu, the largest threat up until that point in the series, which is insane. Vegito's character, while resembling Goku and Vegeta, also doesn't. He's incredibly intelligent despite the two fusees. Many people call Vegito cocky or even dumb for taunting and not finishing Buhan off while he could, but this was all a part of Vegito's plan to be absorbed. He wanted to do this to save the victims absorbed by Majin Buu. Even the way he fights makes Majin Buu, who has the battle IQ of not only someone like Gohan, but Piccolo, someone who never stops training. Oh yeah, and he also fights as a candy ball, which is something no one else did in the series. This Xenoverse 2 trash talking is also seen during his fight with Zamasu in Dragon Ball Super. However, this is an unnecessary negative banter. In Dragon Ball, stated by Toriyama, Ki is pretty much everything. Your spiritual and life energy. Goku is always calm and has a right mind when facing his opponents, which is why he's always ahead of someone like Vegeta, who's solely focused on keeping up with Goku. For example, when Super Perfect Cell returned while Gohan was injured, Gohan became helpless. Not because he was weaker, but because he began to witness things for how they truly were. His arm was significantly damaged, the Earth was at stake, his friends, family, his father had just died. Many emotions running through himself in that moment. And because of that led to his weakened state. And when Goku was able to help Gohan overcome this feeling, then he was able to defeat Cell. This is why I believe Vegito downplays his opponents, to overall weaken their ki and make them just overall weaker in general. Now, something I'd like to mention is that I know this is going to be brought up, is the idea that Vegito and Gogeta are equal in strength, in which they're not. There are some movie promotional guides that state Gogeta is an equal trump card to Vegito. However, this is not the case, as this can literally mean that they're just equal in terms of how efficient they would both be in a battle against Broly. Put it in simpler terms, both Gogeta and Vegito would slam Broly, no difficulty, thus making them equal trump cards, not actually them being equal in terms of raw power. And this is actually supported by Elder Kai, states that it doesn't hurt that both Goku and Vegeta live to outdo each other, essentially applying a rival boost, and is further supported by this scan where it states that if Gohan and Goku were to have fused, they wouldn't have reached the same level as Vegito, despite Gohan exceeding Vegeta in power, which essentially means that this rival boost is enough to close a gap as large as Vegeta and Gohan in the Buu Saga, and then some. While Gogeta and Broly were fighting, their fight was so intense that the power they were releasing was too much for the universe itself, so much so that they literally shattered reality. In the novel, they state that they didn't go through one dimension, but several dimensions, and even blatantly being called the ultimate super dimensional battle in the anime manga. You'd also need to remember that Vegito in the Goku Black arc, at least in the manga, might have surpassed Beerus as in this scan. Even Shin states this, and another thing I'd like to mention is that Goku and Vegeta's current states in the manga are kind of implied to surpass Gogeta from the Broly movie. This is mainly because of Vegeta stating that he could beat Broly in his blue state, and as we all know, Super Saiyan Blue is far behind something like Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego, meaning Blue Gogeta from the Broly movie might just get fodderized by current Goku, at least at full power. Now, going back to those scans that state that Goku Black Arc Vegito is relative to Beerus, did you know that current Goku and Vegeta still are not on Beerus' level? This would mean that Vegito is so much more powerful than Gogeta, that Vegito, 3 arcs before the Granola arc, is still stronger than current Goku and Vegeta. So what if they fuse right now using the Potara fusion? Goku and Vegeta have reached powers that are not only on the same level as godhood, but a power that makes all of the gods of destruction stand up in admiration. So how powerful do you think a hypothetical Vegito would be after 3 arcs, after being equal in power to Beerus, and using a form that is thousands of times, if not hundreds of thousands of times stronger than Super Saiyan Blue? It would then make something like true Ultra Instinct Vegito being as strong as an angel not so out of reach, as Vegito was able to reach Beerus' level as early as the Goku Black arc, despite Goku and Vegeta not being anywhere near that level and still are not on that level. Underneath it all, who do you think wins? The hypothetical true Ultra Instinct Vegito or Black Frieza? Well, as we just went over, Frieza is someone who trained 10 years to overcome the Lord of Lords, though he clearly isn't on that level of strength, at least yet. I think it's safe to assume that Black Frieza would wipe the floor with current Gogeta going all out. However, just because Frieza knows of the existence of Gogeta and the hypothetical possibility of Goku and Vegeta fusing against him, you